I'd like to call the meeting of the City's Commission on Sustainability to order on our December meeting.
We can all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Thank you, Lauren. I suppose the next thing is the roll call. Let's see what we've got. I don't have the full list of names, but Lauren Hoffman, present. Jeff? Present. Jeff Matusik. I'll do Fonda Owens. Ty?
Present.
Present. Tucker?
Yeah, I'm present.
Present. Okay, well, we've got
We're missing Zach King and
Devin
Lucas Cromer.
and Lucas Cromer. Okay.
Yep, and Devin Nunsberger.
I figured our main agenda for today, we'll have some discussion, will also be to try to set our schedule for next year, and talk about appointments and organization. So I think the first thing I wanted to, we went with the expert Annette and asked her because some had questions about the appointments, and whatever your appointment was, 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, after you're that term, then they revert, then they all become 2 year for people continuing on, 2 year appointments staggered. So is there anybody on the committee, everybody that's here today wants just to continue to serve on the commission?
I think the only two up for renewal are you and Ty.
Okay, well then, so that should work out good.
Yeah, I'm fine to stay on, for sure.
What I did with the, what I looked at for schedule is it looks like the fourth Tuesday next year works pretty good all the way through till we get a time, November, December, where they're both end up being right at the, close to the holiday. So I think maybe we can tentatively have those on the schedule, but when we get closer to that, maybe either move them up earlier in the month or combine them like we did this year. So I will send out a proposed schedule to everybody. So, otherwise, we maybe have some leftover business. Tucker, did you have anything to bring up today?
I mean, we could go, so it's been, 2 months now since we've had this meeting? I could just update on the tree grant real quick. Tree planting is almost complete if it's not complete already. We've planted, or we are in the middle of planting or getting close to wrapping up planting 84 trees for this first round of 6 tree plantings. I received an invoice and it's going through Board of Works on the next docket, which would be the 17th. We're working on trying to figure out the balance between money going into the city's tree crew versus the amount that we need to spend on removals outside of the scope of the tree crew. So initially we had asked for that $10 million and we were only awarded the one, which, I mean, $1 million is an amazing amount of money. I can't complain, but we're just going to have to change the scope, I think, a little bit when it comes to the removals by contractors. If we want to continue to run the tree crew as we have in the past. So yeah.
Just a quick question or interjection. I have seen someone talk to me about a tree that was planted, 2 people actually planted. It's in the right of way, right? But it's also their yard. And it felt like both of those folks weren't really excited about having trees there. So, I mean, we all here understand the rationale, but is it worthwhile to just state like why we're putting trees where we're putting them and the value that brings to a homeowner, even if it's very, very close to their property?
Yeah, so I will admit that I didn't realize the hubbub that would occur due to the fact that I didn't reach out to people beforehand before we planted trees, and for those who were inconvenienced by it, I do apologize. The trees are the locations chosen currently are it's kind of a 2 or 3-fold reason why we chose the locations that were chosen. The first is that our project area, it's 3 census tracts that are considered disadvantaged due to the environmental justice and equity tool from the federal government. So those 3 census tracts are qualified for our grant for 100% no match funding, essentially. So first we narrowed down the city to that 3 tract area, and then from there, Phil looked at areas that have had the least investment in trees, into the urban tree canopy through time. So we tried to find areas where, it's just sparser forest or canopy cover, so we can get the most bang for our buck when it comes to planting trees. And then finally the third is, he takes account of the environmental factors related to the trees to kind of determine what tree should be planted in that space. So, the amount of sunlight that it receives, the amount of water it would need, the space between the street and the sidewalk, if that's, an issue or anything like that. All trees are planted within the right of way, which is technically maintained by the city. But yes, it is also people's yard, and I understand how uncomfortable it can be to just show up one day and your yard looks different than it was without your consent or permission. And after hearing the feedback, I'm going to ensure that we inform people much further in advance. And honestly, I've been thinking about some way. I mean, there's a lot of people also who didn't receive trees who really want trees too. So maybe there's some way we can kind of bring in like a voluntary factor into that as well. And that voluntary factor might even help us in the long run with the maintenance of the trees when it comes to watering, because people are more likely to take care of a tree if they want the tree in the first place, right? So we learn from our mistakes, right? So, yes.
Yeah, I think that's just good information to share so the public has it. And I think maybe what I heard you say is an option, which I think I would agree with, is maybe some sort of survey or, open, questionnaire to homeowners that, hey, you are in this area, you could have a tree. It's still the city's, right away, and but it's close to your yard. If you would like to object, here's your time to object. If you would like to sign up, here is your time to sign up. That might just go a long way to, we're not going to get trees everywhere, right? So I think the citizens of LaPorte might just appreciate that as an idea. I think that's what I heard you saying, Tucker, but I just wanted to kind of, say it out loud maybe.
Yeah, so we are intending to plant 480 trees roughly based off the amount of money that we have set aside for trees in the grant. This first round was 84 trees, so we're looking at another 400 roughly trees to be planted over the next 2.5 years. And I think you're right. In theory we have, not even in theory, in practice we have a complete inventory of all of our trees and the planting locations that have been identified in this area. I'm sure that we could come up with a 2.5 year long planting plan instead of just a single time planting plan, and maybe that might be that way we can inform people well in advance and give them ample time to be able to respond. And I am working on getting it attached to the sustainability page website actually.
I think that'd be great, and then give a contact her or an email and say, this is you. Sorry. If you can put the map publicly, then that would allow anybody interested to look. If they're not in the area, but maybe close to it, and they say, well, I would like a tree, they can reach out.
Yeah,
via
and
email.
trees can be planted outside of that area. It's just the city would have to match 20% of the cost of those trees. So, for example, the money that we received for the Rotary Club, from the Rotary Club for tree planting, we're going to use that as a community match to, plant a larger amount of trees than we would have been able to for that program. But we're going to try to focus the majority of it in areas where they haven't had access to trees in the past. That's the prerogative that was given to us by the federal government for this money. And so But I think that one thing so first, the website, we are working on it. It's a new thing for me, so it's taking me a while to kind of get it. But eventually we will have, I think it's going to be easier than than I anticipate it to be, I guess. Similar to our zoning map, we have an interactive zoning map on the planning department's page. And so the tree map, it's on the same server. So in theory, it should be easy to get that data connected. It's just, we want to make sure that we're providing it in a way that's safe, and I'm still new to all that stuff. And then secondly, we already have a tree request form for people who are concerned about trees. I think it would be very easy to just add a section for people who are interested in planting trees too, right? So like, we turn it from tree request form for only when you have problems with trees to, hey, I'd like to get a tree planted. Actually, I already think there is a planting option on there. It's just not advertised. So I'm going to confirm that tomorrow, and then maybe we can put out a Facebook post or something.
Requesting, so when you say a tree request, requesting the city plant it or requesting permission for the homeowner to plant it, or both?
So currently, the tree request form has options for the city to remove a tree, the city to prune a tree, and the city to plant a tree, as well as removal by a contractor, pruning by a contractor, and I do believe like planting on your own as well. I'm pretty sure that those are already options on there, but I want to confirm, and honestly, there's a little bit more information that we could gather to ensure that we're putting trees in the best location. So we might revitalize that a little bit, and I'll probably include that along with the update to the website. I would also like to start putting out all of the grant information online for people to be able to have access to it. I do regular monthly updates to the federal government already, so it would be nice to have a place where I could just post that and then people can read the documents themselves and have access to it. So that's my thought, at least.
Well, covering what Ty said and what you experienced, did you find people were more objecting to having a tree or just not being involved in the process?
I think that it was a little bit of both. I think there was a lot of people who didn't want the extra maintenance added on, but I think the biggest problem was the invasion of privacy that most people felt, not being informed. Informed consent's an important part of it. So I think that a lot of people, after we spoke to them personally, they were like, oh, you actually thought this thing through. I'm not upset that I'm getting a tree. It's just, it would have been nice to know, and maybe I could have pointed out a better place in my yard for you to put it, that's more convenient for me for mowing or whatever the issue might have been. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think, just again, an idea is, I think people don't understand the value of trees.
Yes.
Sometimes, you know what I mean? Like, there are people, they live in this house for, a decade or more, and there's never been a tree there, and they don't realize it's actually city property. They don't understand why a tree is valuable to them. Mm-hmm. So just some sort of maybe mass communication. It's like, this is why trees are like important, and you're getting a valuable asset here near your property. I just don't think a lot of people understand the value of trees, So, yeah, just some thoughts there on, yeah. I know there's only so much money to go around, and it costs money to communicate and put out, information to people, but I think it would go a long way just to give people a heads up and little, education, and then if you really don't want a tree and you're in this area, let us know.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think that it's we're very lucky here in the community because we have 5,000 odd trees, give or take. There's not a lot of communities that have as dense of a urban forest as we do, so a lot of people take that for granted, I think. But a lot of those trees are aging, and we do have to start replacing them. And you're right, there is a lot of value that comes from it, not just clean air and clean water, but like stormwater intake, like the amount of stormwater that's removed from our system due to the trees versus being put through our treatment process saves the city an untold amount of money. A fully healthy tree can suck up millions of gallons of water over its lifetime, So there are a lot of benefits, and I agree with you. A part of the grant is education, and I think the grant's been focused so much on the operation of our street tree crew and the planting of trees. I think education's a big portion of it that I hope to bring in with our further portion, especially once we start to include that youth conservation core aspect that we've talked about in the past. So those are all good things.
Thank you, thank you. Anybody else with anything on that? Anybody else have any other business you'd like to touch on? Ty, do you have anything today?
Yeah, I mean, it's not necessarily new business, but
Right.
just, I'm not sure if the commission's been aware of the increase in rates that NIPSCO's proposed. I think the last number I saw was in the next year, NIPSCO's planning to increase electric rates by 31-ish%.
That's what I saw. And
Yeah,
I was like,
so that's a lot for citizens of LaPorte to bear, almost a third increase of your electricity and not doing anything new. That's just doing what you've done. You're going to see a bill that's, a third higher. I know the county council, our commissioners have discussed this, and I think they're working to talk with NIPSCO in some way, shape, or form about it. NIPSCO's a private utility. They can do whatever they want, but there are many governing bodies between a private utility and a homeowner that can step in and say, hey, can we talk about this or fight it legally? As a sustainable, I'm very happy to see more clean energy out there. And that's one of the rationales that NIPSCO's used is we're getting rid of our coal plants and we're investing in clean energy. But, homeowners and business owners can also invest in clean energy and not have to pay NIPSCO a premium. So just as a commission, I think we should be aware of the fact that there are those, that communication is going on, and that is potentially happening. For the citizens of LaPorte that are interested, we're here, I think, to discuss that if they ever wanted to see how we could help. Because it seems like a lot of money for people that are struggling right now. And once again, it's relative, but we're all NIPSCO, customers, and I don't know that many of us would maybe rate them as, the top customer service organization in Northwest Indiana. So, yeah, I just think we should be aware of that and let the citizens know we're here if they want to discuss it, I guess was my point.
That's good comments, and I think we're a little surprised to see that it's like a big hit rather than a phase-in. I know with our utility increases, we have tried to be sensitive to that and phase it in over a number of years rather than a big number all at once, and it sounds like this
Yeah,
is...
well, and that's to the point, yeah, Todd, like the water, we control, right? That's a city utility. We can control those rates, and I think we've done a pretty good job of trying to maintain or improve infrastructure while keeping rates low. But a private utility is not anything that we control other than, legislatively, legally, we as the city of LaPorte can, as a sustainability commission we can, the county can, talk to the Public Utilities Commission, or there are other ways to, just help there. So, yeah, it's citizens are going to feel that in the next year or two if it actually all goes through.
So I've been on council for a year, and I almost remember very distinctly NIPSCO coming to either a meeting before I was elected or in the very beginning saying they were going to cut rates. Anybody recall that? I mean, not to say within the last year they couldn't have changed things, but I remember very distinctly going, oh, good, because my NIPSCO bill in my 110-year house is very high. I don't know, it wasn't really a question more than a statement,
Right.
I suppose.
Kind of came out of...
But
Yeah, I don't recall that, but I will say once again, I think the city and city council can maybe work with the county commissioners to push NIPSCO to explain why those rates are going where they are and seeing if there's anything that we can do about it.
Yeah, I believe there was an item last night that said that they had decided to hire Friedman, to do some work on that because he had worked in opposing the rate increases previously. So hopefully they can get somewhere.
Yeah, I think, it's, the county can do what they can do, and as a city, I think we should just be aware of it and encourage folks, if they want to reach out to us in any way, shape, or form, or want us to do something about that. Yeah, it's just in the air right now. It's an issue. And once again, as a Sustainability Commission, I'm all about clean energy. I mean, there are ways to save. NIPSCO doesn't have to do all that. We can do it. Distributed energy is an option for homeowners, for businesses, for the city. I mean, the city's at the wastewater plant, right, has a solar, field that powers basically its whole operation. So that is a way to help keep costs down, and just worthwhile, I think, for a commission for us to keep on the agenda and make citizens aware of.
Thank you. Anybody else with any comments? Should I send out a document, or should I just talk about the dates that I penciled in? But it looks like the fourth Tuesday, like I said, is very clear. Same time. Does that work? That's what I wanted to see with the commission members, if the 4 o'clock Tuesdays is working okay. Tucker, you're here.
Yeah, I like
It's better than
Tuesdays.
Monday, I think, for everybody, right?
Yes, 100%.
So, okay.
It turns out school board meetings are first or fourth Mondays as well, so.
The other.
Or wait, no, they were second Mondays. They were yesterday, so.
Yeah, Tucker
Never
and I
mind.
had some discussions yesterday about maybe that we may investigate putting a couple more members on here so that we could kind of have a few committees working on different things. That would help us, and of course, it would help as everybody's busy. Most people are still involved in business, and it would help if we did that too, because it would be, I think it would be a little easier to ensure that we have a quorum for each meeting. So we're going to explore that with your blessing. I think that's something that may be worthwhile for us.
Yeah, I can mention it at the next council meeting on Monday and just say, if you're interested, come to our next meeting and
Sure.
if there's any interest.
I think the next order of business, one of us is and one of the things, because we want to do department head interviews to talk to the departments about and so it involves either bringing them here and doing that in the meeting, but since we have a limited time for these meetings of 45 minutes to an hour, maybe that it may be more helpful if we send a couple people to their place of work and look at their ideas and talk to them, and then maybe bring that back to the commission. I don't know, does that make any sense to do that, or to do it that way, or do we bring them?
Yeah, I mean, I think one way we could do it potentially would be even set aside time to go visit them at their, unit, kind of get to understand what their department does that could be more sustainable, or what they do already that is sustainable. And then if we wanted to do some kind of prescriptive, or prescription to how we could improve on our sustainable workflows or life cycle, whatever you want to do. We could then have that at this meeting, or again, schedule a separate meeting. It really depends. I could see going and physically seeing what people have in operation, though, would be interesting too. Like Ty had said, the wastewater department, I think their solar field helps them run at 95% efficiency, essentially. So they're producing essentially 95% of their own energy. That's a really cool thing that's sustainable within our community. And I think the other 5%, sometimes they even make up using the gas that is produced through the natural process of, digestion. So it's pretty cool stuff.
There are a lot of exciting developments in sustainable energy. Some of the new, the wind turbines, these smaller profile vortex type, they generate when you're talking about paying a 30% increase, or putting those, 10 or 12 of those on the leading edge of one of your buildings or something. I mean, there are things that entities are going to need to do or will be doing to take advantage of some of the new developments. And NIPSCO's obviously got to be mindful of that, I would think. So, of course, they get the power back from us pretty cheap except for our wastewater department, so.
But yeah, so I think visiting the various departments to see, kind of what they do and just what the city does in general. I think that if that sounds interesting to you guys, or something you'd want to do, I think that's a good way to start. And then maybe from there we could take it as a prescriptive thing, either hold a meeting with all department heads or individual department heads to say hey, this is what we saw, this is what we liked, this is what we didn't like. I think that in general, I had sent out an article, I think, a month or two ago about asset management as a form of sustainability. I think asset management, like proactive asset management plans, is something that the city in general is moving towards, and I would like to see us maybe try to find some way to either get that instantiated, like through Board of Works or maybe council as like a prerogative to our departments. That way we can hold people accountable to it and make sure that we're, like, even when I'm not here anymore, we have continuity, you know, through ensuring that people keep sustainability as a part of their mindset, essentially.
And I think that's important because you were looking at information that comes to you and you saw that particular story and it matched up with what you know about, like, the streets as an asset.
Yeah.
And so we're all keeping our ears and eyes open for some of these things. And so don't hesitate to save, and maybe we can do more of this, save an article or post an article for the other members to see. So I think we need to do more of that. And I look at our January meeting as kind of a reorganization upcoming to plan some of these things and make sure we are where we want to be with officers, where we want to be with our meeting times and what we can achieve. There's different areas, we don't have a budget substantially, and so it's all about ideas and propagating things that people can really do to make a difference, I guess.
Okay, so you brought up officers. We haven't voted for officers probably in 2 years now,
That's
thereabout.
Probably, yes.
So it's probably a good time to revisit that, make
At
sure
least have that
everyone.
discussion, yes.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if people want to change positions or someone else wants to seek leadership, I think it's good. Maybe we can talk about that at the January meeting.
Yes, I think that's a good idea. I think we should focus on that
Or after we get the new members on, if we get new members, or, we can talk about that at the next meeting.
Very good. Anybody else have anything for the order today? Jeff, do you have anything about lakes that's been good or bad as a result
No,
of?
they're all
How's the
hoping they
level?
freeze.
Yeah.
How's the lake level right now?
I think it's pretty low.
Is it?
It has been for quite a while. They haven't, no, we've been good. We need the rain.
We've had some below
Snow.
normal months.
We don't want, but we need the lakes to freeze. That'll help the lakes and help all the weeds and help everything through the process. One quick question. Are any of the trees going up along the waterways there, along Waverly or on Stone or?
I know that we've been working somewhat with County Soil and Water on doing some improvement to the area along Waverly there at the intersection of Pine Lake Avenue. I know that the county owns that, and INDOT, I think, owns a portion, but we're trying to find a good intergovernmental. Is that Waverly there at Pine Lake Ave at the hotel there? Yeah.
I was by Taco Bell.
No, you're good. You're
What
good.
about the fireworks?
She must be
Yeah,
hungry.
Yeah.
The hotel's on one side, and the other side's that
Fireworks property there.
fireworks, there's a kind of an empty lot before the fireworks, right?
Yeah, exactly. So that there's been, we met on site and kind of walked through it. It's not a very high quality, it's just scrub trees mainly. Some of it's invasive. But there are some good trees on site as well. And so we're looking for a good intergovernmental partnership to try to clean that up and make it another source of beauty for us. That the outlook over the Hennessy wetland, the Hennessy wetland in general is a very undervalued resource that we have in our community. I think it's extremely gorgeous, and it's just sad that you can't even see it from the road. So it would be nice to see that get cleaned up. But, we want to do it in a way that's environmentally friendly and not taking out good trees and all that good stuff. So there's been some discussion of that. But as far as tree planting goes along Waverly, I'm not aware of anything right now. The tree planting that's associated with the grant mainly focuses on, so those 3 census tracts, the best way to think about it, it's like the letters and numbers street area, the near downtown neighborhood that has been called the Triangle neighborhood before in the past, and then like East Jefferson to the cemetery kind of square area over there. So like kind of like the 3 quadrants, where the streets go north-south and they go on that weird angle and then they go back to north-south again. Those are the areas that are identified as a 100% match, so we've kind of been focusing in that area. But with the money that was given to us by the Rotary, I know that we are also looking at it's kind of like a Redbud Trail or something like
Right.
that. And that'll be kind of along the Clear Lake Loop Trail, which is, along Clear Lake, and then up into the Chessie Trail area as well. Yeah, so I would say that's like really the only planting that is scheduled, being planned, I should say.
I was just curious, I've had a couple people ask about it, there isn't
Yeah.
much area for it, besides, county does own some of it, like over on Stone Lake.
Yeah.
By the launch, that's theirs and everything, but,
Yeah,
there are areas, Waverly, the parks are taken care of for the most part.
yeah. No, so Stone Lake, I think actually, I don't think the county owns much of the land around there. I think the city owns most of the land around Stone Lake. I think there's only those like 4 houses along the
Little bit
western
over there.
side there. But the rest of it, I think, is technically city-owned property. And I think all of that's maintained by the parks. But I know that we've been looking at how we can get some funding for them to redo their tree inventory as well. So we have the street tree inventory, and that was redone with this grant money. And the parks, at the same time that we did our initial inventory, also did like a park tree inventory for trees that, people interact with the most, essentially. And we're looking for funding to be able to renew that inventory as well. So, hoping to do that soon.
Does anybody else have any business to come before us today? Funny, you have so many board meetings and stuff, I thought you'd be overflowing with. So my plan, or I think our plan going forward is to get our organization done at that January meeting and then kind of dive into some of the things that we've talked about for a while. And also everybody kind of keep familiar with the plan. It's mostly a greenhouse gas reduction plan as far as that formal plan. There's hundreds of different ways of doing that, it looks like, and see if we can find the ones that we can influence or make happen, I guess. So I think the city's done a good job with like CNG for power and buses and things like that, the wastewater solar array. So I think we just try to make more of those kind of things happen for the city, and then encourage our residents and businesses to do the things they can. So with that being said, would I have a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion.
Second?
Second.
We have a motion and seconded. The meeting's adjourned. Merry Christmas.
Hi, Merry Christmas.